Today on Dead Dodge Garage, we shamelessly steal all of Uncle Tony's content. And we spend the next 15 minutes wondering if that was a joke. Okay, seriously though. I'm really making this video in response to a comment that I got. It's 100% true that Uncle Tony has made a couple videos on the subject lately. In fact, one of those videos was in response to a video I made, so figure that one out. Classic car restoration is a mistake. At least if you try to do it at home. Probably. Now I do want to get one thing out of the way first, a possible conflict of interest. I'm not talking about restoration at a professional shop with a reliable reputation and reasonable pricing that does a great job. Like Rocket Restorations, where I work. There is a way to do a restoration correctly, and that's what us professionals are for. I actually made a video on this same subject around a year ago when I started at Rocket. And I actually made another video featuring that car, explaining why trying to restore a car at home is a mistake. But I think I could say what I meant a little bit better now. If you want your car to be perfect, stop wanting that. There is no such thing as a perfect car. At least I'm pretty sure there isn't. Oh, yeah. And if you want a restored car, buy one. Don't spend your own money. Spend someone else's. This is also a conversation Brian with Dust Devil Garage and I got into on my live stream this last Sunday. Yeah, I'm not a rich person. I can't just dump money on crap. There is a way of doing this that doesn't work like that. That is something I really want to profess and share on my channel, and I do all the time.
Well, my thing is, my car is nowhere near perfect, but if I do say so myself, it's cool.
Dude, I love it.
I have a total. I don't even have a total of $6,000 in that car.
That's awesome.
Everything in that car is secondhand stuff that, hey, it works. You don't have to spend a ton of money.
You know, that's exactly my kind of deal. And I want to respond to that with one quick thing. There is no such thing as a perfect car.
No.
It doesn't exist. The nicest, shiniest painted car you see at the car show, perfect doesn't exist. It never will. It never did. Don't strive for that. Strive to have fun. Strive to have something you're proud of. You know, whatever it is you want out of the car, strive for that. But do not strive for perfect, because you won't get it. Let's start with that comment. Now, I'm not going to mention the commenter's name, and I'm not really here to insult them. The comment was on the 70 Roadrunner video. And the gist of it was, why did you bother making this car run? That's just time wasted. You should be ripping this car apart right now, bagging and tagging all the bolts, tearing it down, stripping it, putting it in sealer, and getting it restored. Why would you waste your time? If you've spent any time at all watching this channel, you probably understand my problem with that statement right away. I have quite a bit of experience with cars that need a restoration. Let's look at Exhibit A here. My 1979 Chrysler 300, a rare and nifty car. People love this thing, and I get it. I love it too. I got a heck of a deal on this car a few weeks ago. And what did I do? The moment I got it home, I set about making it run. Why did I do that? Shouldn't I have started by stripping all this crappy bodywork down? Shouldn't I have started filling the gash in the passenger side? I mean, this car has rust. Shouldn't I be cutting all of that out right now and patching it? Shouldn't I be stripping this interior and getting these seats off to the upholsterer? I mean, look at them. They're worn out. I should be sanding right now. That's where I should have started. You know, restoring the car, right? All right, take a deep breath, buddy. It's okay. No, absolutely not. 10,000 times no. But I love this car. Isn't it deserving of a total restoration? It's rare. It's desirable. All the commenters love it. The video I made on it is doing great. You know what I love about this car? It was cheap. And it's fun. I'm having so much fun. You know what would absolutely murder that fun? Tearing it down, boxing it up, and trying to restore it. I mean, good Lord. Just about everything I own needs the same treatment. I'm gonna need a lot of boxes. Here's why you don't do that. Here's why I don't do that. I guess I already mentioned the first part. It's fun. Getting these cars running in whatever condition they're in is fun. Hearing them make sounds, getting the brakes to work, making the transmission do transmissioning. It's awesome. It's one of the best feelings I've ever found. I've found some other pretty great ones, you know, just saying. Reason number 2, despite my impending YouTube infamy, I am an average guy of average means. I can't afford to do that. Tom's got a successful business selling Mopar parts and restoring the cars, but that doesn't mean he can afford to fully restore every car that comes through the door at once either. Restoring a car is expensive, and it's time consuming. And even if you can do it yourself, yeah, that's just a lot. And I don't have the budget for it. Reason number 3. And this goes back to the video about this car I mentioned. Projects like that, undertaken by owners at home in their garage, usually don't get finished. The gentleman who I bought this car from did exactly what this commenter described. He broke it all down. He bagged and tagged everything, which is awesome. You know, some people don't even do that. And he started doing body work. It all had to come off, but that's another story. He got it to a certain point, and it became too much. And that was 12 years ago. And I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's a great guy, super talented. He had one of the coolest rat rods I've ever seen. He knew what he was doing. It's just so time intensive. For him, life got in the way. I mean, he's a tugboat captain or something. Unfortunately, as I said in that video, he fell into the restoration trap. I've got to restore this car. I've got to make this car perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Don't shoot for that. That gentleman traded me this 73 Charger for a really nice, expensive Matco toolbox. Obviously, money wasn't a problem. He's not a poor person. He had a beautiful house and a nice garage, and it's just time. That's just what happens here. My plan for this car was my plan for everything. Take all those parts he ripped off it, put them back on there, drop a drivetrain in the thing, some rattle can black, and go enjoy it. And I actually got pretty far down that path. I needed to buy a few parts. Of course, my plan also included a blower sticking through the hood. Unfortunately, life got in the way for me too. Except by life, I mean 68 Charger. And this is one of many projects and other things that I sold as part of making that happen. I sold the car to another gentleman for a modest sum, and I said, yeah, you know, I'll give you a hand. I'll help on the mechanicals, I'll build the engine. I ended up transporting it for him, kind of all over the place, to multiple painters, in fact, as he tried to find someone willing to take it on, because this body was rough. Yeah, not the kind of body you should start a restoration with, really. He managed to get this car bodyworked and painted for about $10,000, and that's a bargain. Now, if you look really closely, it is not perfect. But again, perfect doesn't exist, and this thing is going to be a sweet daily driver. The upholstery shop has already had their way in here. Everything in here is fresh, and it is really nice. But there's a lot of money in here, I'll tell you that. Here's the other part of this. Expectations. He thought for about 20 grand in about 6 to 8 months, he could have a nice running restored Charger. Double the cost, double the time, and then it looks like you see here. But I really think that's about best case. This car is getting done. It's looking sweet. An awesome driver, and reliving the days when he was cruising a 72 with the big block. That was the goal, and that's happening. It's gone better than I thought. But what if it hadn't? You know, my 68 Charger has been restored, and it needs restored again. Someone did the metalwork that shouldn't have. Heck, they might have done it at home, you know, to try and save a few bucks on the restoration. Oh, don't mind the tire. That's just, you know, because it's way too big and they didn't get the rim spacing right. Why am I wasting my time fixing the minor engine problems and driving and enjoying this car? I should be putting it in bags and stripping it down to fix these rust bubbles right now and running out and getting it painted again. I'm sure it'll turn out just as good as this paint job. This is Dale's Demon. I am not Dale. I think I've mentioned that. Dale's Demon is covered in scratches, rub marks where the paint's missing, dings, little dents, messed up areas, bits of paint coming off. It's not perfect. It looks pretty darn good on camera, but this is original 52-year-old paint. I mean, look at this. This is just embarrassing. What am I doing driving and enjoying this car? I should be stripping it and breaking it down right now to get it restored. How can I live with myself? This car, warts and all, is just nice enough to be at home in a car show with a bath. But just beat enough that I don't have to worry about it. I would never, ever, in a million years, strip and restore this car. For one thing, it's living history. For another thing, it's only original once, and that is. I would never take these stickers off. I would never try to make this car anything but what it is. But maybe we're getting off topic there. Dale's Demon is kind of a special case. So I want to come to another aspect of this. I know myself, and I know my limitations. I can do an engine swap on this car in a day. I did it. I kept the receipts. I've done it on others. It's something that I'm very familiar with. That's not a big deal. I can apparently rebuild a 4-speed transmission with success. In fact, I made a guide video about that, which has been pretty popular. I can rebuild an 8 3/4 center section, no problem. I can redo a set of brakes. I do it all the time. Rebuilding a front suspension certainly isn't a problem either. I've rewired more classic Mopars at this point than I could ever count. I know my way around a carburetor. I can do every one of those things. Maybe you can too. Now do every single one of them to that car in your garage at once. How's that gonna go for you? For me, it's not. I've got a lot of irons in the fire these days. A lot. But even when I didn't, I still wasn't capable of just going through an entire car, end to end, every single piece, and trying to make it nice. I realized pretty early on that the way to do this instead was one piece at a time. Hey, some guy wrote a song about that. I know I've mentioned Uncle Tony a lot lately, and I apologize for that, but he just did a video recently about the plateaus, the steps in building a car. It was all relating to his 67 Charger, but the basic concept applies to anything like this. And as with many things he's said over the years, this kind of clicked with me right away. And I realized that's really what I do. And I've kept the receipts on that one as well. Take my 48 Power Wagon here. When I got it, I didn't blow it all apart and rip it to pieces to try and restore it. And let us all be thankful for that, because if I had, I would have sold it in boxes at least a year ago. No, I tackled it one bit at a time. Bit number 1, can I make the engine run? Yeah, of course, it's a flathead Chrysler engine. Number 2, can I get an electrical system together? Started on that. Other things kind of needed to happen first, like it's hard to wire taillights when there's nothing to attach them to. It does fire up and run, it charges, it's dead nuts reliable. I started this thing 2 days ago for the 11,000 sub special, so this isn't even going to be a challenge. So, although it's not perfect, I did achieve my goals of starting, running off the key, charging the battery, being usable around the yard here. Next thing, can I have brakes? Yes, kind of, although it needs a rear frame line replaced and I've yet to do that. Either way, they are usable with a couple pumps. Okay, it starts, it runs, it moves, it kind of stops. Next, can I have a bed? And that's kind of where we're at now. Haven't really had time to finish that, as you can see. But through all of this, it still runs. It still moves. It's still fun. It's still inspiring, and it still does what I ultimately want it to do, which is drag stuff around. If I had taken that commenter's approach and broken this truck down and stripped it to try and restore it, I never would have finished it. And if I hadn't dumped it for pennies on the dollar by now, it would be sitting in the shop right in my way. uninspiring, and I would probably never touch it. And that's really the crux of this for me. A vehicle that starts and moves and does something is just so much better than one that does not. How have I gotten through this entire video without saying, don't get it right, get it running once? Back to the 79 Chrysler. The accelerator pump on the carburetor is broken. It's still running on an electric pump. The oil leak has actually slowed down, but you know, I'm sure it's gonna be a problem eventually. Obviously, it needs some work. I drove it on a road. I've thrown gravel around with the back tires, and damn if it isn't fun. And it's so much more inspiring now. And here's Exhibit B, the flip side of that equation. The garbage can CUDA here. My friend Jordan, a little over a year ago now, got too big for his britches and decided he was just going to restore the thing. The engine needed a cam and some other things. The paint on the car is ugly. The floor is getting a little crusty. The seats didn't fit right. So he did what any rational person would do. He started removing the paint with a razor blade, stripping the car down to do the body work and make it less ugly. Tore the interior apart so we could see the floor. Threw away the carpet, which revealed all of this horror. We decided to improve the engine compartment since it was really, really hacky. So now it has no brake lines. It has no master cylinder. That's an unrelated thing. The clutch linkage is out of it. Everything is out of it. So where does that leave me now that I own this thing? It's a terrifying proposition. I don't know where to start. It's a humongous, daunting task now. This car had been doing burnouts on 7 out of 8 cylinders. It's not ideal, but it was the driver. It really just needed the engine. Now it needs everything. Zero the dog on an adventure. Now, I'm not saying my approach is the only one, the best one, or even a good one. Maybe it's not. But if you're here on this channel, then you probably somewhat appreciate what I have to say and my viewpoint on these things. So hopefully I can help you understand that blowing a car to pieces in your garage at home is a mistake. I've just thought of a really dumb analogy. Working on a classic car is like eating cake. And if you eat too much, you're gonna puke. Just have a little piece now and again. There are people in the world with the skills, the time, and the resources to take one of these cars, take every nut and bolt out, finish the paint, build the mechanicals, end to end. They can do one of these cars, and that's great. But I can't. And if you're here watching this channel, you probably can't either. So trust me when I say that a full restoration on a car in your home garage is not what you want to do. Take it to a level, then the next level. Work your way toward a finished project, but do not try to do it all in one go, because it's not going to go the way you think. As I mentioned, this comment was made in response to the video I put out on Saturday about the 70 Roadrunner. You know, 446 barrel, original black car, Dana 60 axle, air grabber. Man, there's a lot to like about that thing. And it would be so much better if it was in its original condition. Still a really cool car. But you and I and everyone else want to see that car put back to factory, how it should be. And that is in the cards for that car. But it is not going to happen right now. It's not going to happen this year. For now, let's work through the mechanicals, work through the various systems, get the car to function as a car, and have some fun. So instead, what you'll see next on that car is maybe brakes, but definitely 6 barrels worth of Holley carburetor being reinstalled under the air grabber hood where they belong. And that's going to be awesome. At least I think so. I certainly don't think it's a waste of time. And that's all I have to say about that. I do want to take a quick moment to thank you for being here, especially if you're one of my recent subscribers. This weekend, I had the most views of any weekend that I have ever had, and I'm really excited and flattered by all the nice comments I've received. So thank you very much for being here. And remember, wash your hands, you filthy animal. Dang it, I forgot to say, some classic cars just aren't worthy of a restoration.